welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I'm so glad that you decided to spend just a little bit of time with us this evening because I have some really great politicos that will be coming on shortly to share some information with you. And by all means, please feel free to be active in the comments and participate. Tonight, we're going to discuss all things Trump. And we're going to discuss the 2024 elections and whatever else comes to our minds because we can, right? This is what I call a political kitchen table talk. And let's face it, there's just so many things going on in the world. It's literally dizzying. Truly it is. So let me not take any more time. I'm going to introduce my guests right now so we can dig in. First up, we have no stranger to the show. We have Latrice Davis.
Hello.
Yes, Latrice is from New York. She is a senior court clerk at the Queens County Criminal Court. She is an appointed member of the Queens Community Board number 6. She has served on the Aging, Social Services, Disabilities Committee, and the Land Use, Housing, and Landmarks Committee, Transportation and Street Safety, and the Committee for Those Who Are Without Shelter. And for that committee, she was named chairwoman in April of 2022. She is a former Associated Press reporter. Welcome back to the show, Latrice.
As always, Pam, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And next up, we have Loretta Thomas Walker. She is retired with a capital R, logistics project manager who served for 36 years for the Department of Defense in Warren, Michigan. Her duties and responsibilities required extensive worldwide travel to assure federal regulations and procedures were met. She is my soror, and she's wearing lovely blue. As a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Welcome back to the show, Loretta.
Thank you for having me, and hello to everyone.
All right.
Good evening,
Hey,
Loretta.
Latrice, girl. Hey, Latrice.
Hey. And last but certainly not least, we have Gary Carter Green. He is an Emmy Award-winning producer and political commentator. He has produced documentary series for Apple, Netflix, Discovery, and the History Channel, and Amazon. Past credits includes The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Let's Make a Deal, and The Giant Beast that is the global economy. He is the creator of You Can't Beat Blue, a YouTube and Facebook political platform featuring panel discussions and commentaries. And welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you, Pam. Latrice and Loretta, nice to meet you as well. And I'm hoping maybe after the show, Loretta can tell me how I can retire with a capital R. I need some tips.
Good evening, Gary. Nice to meet you too.
This is Gary's first time on the show, and I see our mutual friend Mary Rearick is in there.
Hey,
hey Mary.
We love you, Mary. Yay!
All right. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Now, I'm going to ask this question of each of you with a different variation of it, okay? So, right. Loretta, you first. What do you have to say about Trump? Pause. He's 77 years old. He has 91 felonies. He had to pay E. Jean Carroll a $5 million judgment. He currently now owes her 83.3 because he can't keep his mouth shut. Yet, by all looks, he looks like he might be the Republican candidate for president for 2024. What say you about Trump?
Me first?
Yes, you first.
All right. So I want everyone to remember what Steve Bannon said when Trump first got in office in 2016. Steve Bannon, when he left the office, Steve Bannon said, all right, someone else has to watch the baby now. I'm gone. All right. I don't know if people remember that. Yes, but I have to remind people because we were dealing with a baby then. He wasn't aware of he wasn't aware of anything political. He wasn't aware of anything legally, except just how he thought how to make money, which of course we all know that's a farce as well. But the thing is that now he's dangerous because he now has a little knowledge. And as you know, the old Proverbs, those that has a little knowledge is more dangerous than those who have some or none at all. So he's dangerous to us now. I can go further into this, but it's just getting started. So don't worry. I got other comments to say about him, but I'll be polite right now. But I got to remind everybody, his best friend said that someone else has to babysit now. He says, I'm leaving. What does that tell us then, back then? What does that tell us then?
Right. Okay, now the same question, but with a twist, Latrice, you next. I want to know your thoughts about Trump and about the rappers in hip hop who are saying very positive things about him, and we know the magnitude of their influence. In particular, Snoop Dogg recently just said that he said about Trump, he has nothing but love and respect for Trump since he pardoned a former record label executive, Michael Harris, who was in jail for in prison for for a 30-year case. And he's out now. And that's Suge Knight's record label. What's that? It's Death Row, right?
Death Row Records.
Right, Death Row. So from that lens, what do you think about Trump? And the twist is Trump and this seeming love affair with some of these rappers that have a great amount of influence.
Well, in a nutshell, it all comes down to willful ignorance. Basically, him pardoning that gentleman, Snoop Dogg's friend, is basically a short-term, gain for a long-term. But he's thinking long-term, But it comes down to willful ignorance because Trump, even before he got to the White House, I was born and raised in New York. I live in Queens, the same borough that President Trump came from. Oh, and Trump is all about self. He's always been about self and money. And he's basically playing on black men's ambivalence when it comes to politics because, black men, they're not, they're not 100% sold on Biden. So that gives Trump an opening. And that's what he's playing. That's what he's preying on. Yeah. But in terms of these rappers supporting Trump, it comes down to willful ignorance because rest assured, if they were in trouble, Trump wouldn't even look their way.
Mm-hmm. and that's an understatement that he wouldn't look their way. Let's all be reminded of the Central Park 5, correct? Yeah, Central Park 5. So Gary, I might play this video briefly after you give your example, but Trump is nothing but a malignant narcissist, says his niece, who is a clinical a psychological therapist lady. Okay. And yet he's going to be the Republican nominee for president. My question for you, will alleged Democrat Joe Manchin help Trump beat Biden?
Oh. Well, I think you're referring to whether or not Joe Manchin is going to get in the race and divide the votes from the Democrats. I wouldn't put it past him, certainly. I think that the man, look, I have given Joe Manchin as many opportunities as I am going to give him to stand up for anybody in his party outside of the people living in his home. Or I should say his yacht, because he doesn't live in a home, we know. He has a big, giant houseboat, which is in fact a yacht, but don't call it a yacht because Joe Manchin is a man of the people.
Wait a minute. Wait. Back up. He lives in a what?
He lives on a yacht.
Yes.
He lived. You can call it a houseboat. He drives, I think he drives a Bentley or a Jaguar. We did a whole piece at You Can't Beat Blue investigating this guy and how
Correct.
he basically harboring what is called gob, which is the leftover stuff after you burn coal. He owns a company that collects that stuff, that sludge called gob, and then he takes it to power plants and uses it again as fuel. And it is less efficient, and it is less clean, and it is polluting the environment. And where is it all going? It's all clouding over his state, right? So I have nothing positive to say about Joe Manchin as to whether or not he will go up against Biden. I got to be honest, I just don't give Joe Manchin the time of day to even consider whether or not he'd do that. And it's getting pretty late. So if he's going to jump in, he better do it fast. But the man is an obstructionist. That's all he does. He does it for self-motivation. He does it for self-worth. And he needs to just disappear. And I hate saying that about a Democrat, but I can say that more than I see on the other side, I will point out when my own are doing something that they shouldn't. And Menendez is another example of that. We do not tolerate these kinds of shenanigans in our party. We want these people out. And, I believe Manchin's not coming back anyway. He's not running again. Right? That's right, He's not running again. So I think the sun is going to set. I think he's going to go to that houseboat and he's just going to stir trouble, but he's not going to be responsible to the people because he's not going to hold elected office. But he's still going to be a pain in our ass. Yeah. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Yeah, and he is. And the one thing I want to show you guys this little clip because it falls all into line about Trump. And this is Trump on the campaign trail right after he got the $83.3 million judgment. 1 second. Okay.
West Virginia. That's all I got to say about Joe Manchin. West.
Should we keep going?
Former President Donald Trump out of the courtroom and back on the campaign trail.
I'm the victim of it, but that's okay. I'm the victim of it. And
holding a packed rally in Las Vegas one day after a Manhattan federal jury ordered him to pay $83.3 million to writer E. Jean Carroll for defaming her after she accused him of sexually abusing her in the mid-90s.
Look at yesterday. Look at all this crap that's going on. But we keep marching forward.
Trump has vowed to appeal, calling the decision absolutely ridiculous and the case a witch hunt. Carroll said the jury's verdict was a great victory for every woman who stands up when she's been knocked down, but still unclear just when she could see any of the $83 million awarded to her.
Given what appears to be Trump's limited chances to win on appeal, at some point, E. Jean Carroll will most likely see that money, and likely all of it. The problem is the time frame, so it might be years from now.
Thank you.
Also remaining to be seen if Trump will pay any political price. His sole remaining rival for the GOP nomination, Nikki Haley, campaigning in South Carolina tonight. All that time that he's spending in a courtroom defending himself, he's not fighting for the American people. But back in Nevada at the Trump rally, do you think any of...
So you notice the victim blaming, and I played that on purpose because somebody will say, well, why do you call him a malignant narcissist? If you look up the definition of it, that is one very useful tool that they do in their little psychological tool bank. Very charming, but they're always a victim. I look at all that I've done for you, and this is what you do to me. And unfortunately, if you've been listening to any of his supporters, they're buying it tooth and nail. They're buying it. Oh, Mary says she's scared to see the clip. Renee,
he's the king of charismatic. When it comes to charismatic, ridiculous. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. I don't curse, but that is what I'd like to say. Victim, exactly. Victim, my what? But he's the king of charismatic comments. He's still writing on the fact that he was, what was that show he was on?
The Apprentice.
Yeah, The Apprentice. Yeah.
And I confess, guys, I love that show. I would crack up. I feel so guilty that I was such, I would laugh. I never took him seriously. And look how dangerous he is. I never ever took him seriously.
No one took him serious in the beginning. We all laughed at him because we didn't think anyone would take this guy serious. And then he got into the White House. Like I said, that little baby or that child is now a little teenager now, worse than ever before. And we've got to stop this. We've got to stop it. So right now, our plans are leaning heavily on the Democratic Party. I don't know if you all have noticed what Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been doing. Isn't it wonderful what he's doing?
Yes.
He's going around to different states right now, talking to the one, talking to all the Republican Party first, as well as the Democrats, and telling them what's at stake here. Well, everybody's being blindfolded by, and Trump is very meticulous about this. If you notice, he's been trying to make sure he's been in court and not in the public sight. He doesn't want to have a discussion with Nikki Haley. She'll take him down big time on everything that he has not accomplished when he was in office. That's what needs to be discussed. And I'm waiting for Joe Biden to emerge, since he's going to be the one for the Democratic Party. I'm waiting for Joe Biden to emerge. I'd like Gavin Newsom to be the one for the Democratic Party, if you ask me, but that's another subject matter.
I want to agree with you on that point, Loretta, but here's the problem. Rewind back to 2016, and I admit to this myself. During the 2016 campaign, never in a million years did I think Trump would be the last man standing. Even during the presidential debates, Hillary wiped the floor with him all 3 debates. And yet, what happened on November 8th? So the lesson I learned from that was to never underestimate him again. And not just him, but the people behind him. Like, rest assured, Nikki Haley, she may be taking it to him now, but in the end, at least the Stefanic's of the world and the Steve Bannons, they're not gonna put her in the White House. I mean, I refuse to believe she's that stupid. I think what it is basically she's positioning herself for vice president if Trump does indeed secure the nomination, and she's hoping that he'll pick her, put her on the ticket. That's my guess.
Yeah. Let me say this. Dawn Daily Mac, you're on LinkedIn, and for some reason, your message to me isn't coming up in the chat. None from LinkedIn. I see only Facebook and my YouTube messages. But she says, let me read you hers since I can't put it on the screen. Oh, shoot. Now I can't find it. Anyways, Dawn, you're right, hon. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can get on Facebook or something, Dawn, because it's not coming up on the screen. Roger Stone is pulling strings. Roger Stone has been talking about murder as quiet as it's kept.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, with this Republican Party, you can't put anything past them. So I think what we have to do, especially those who don't care for Trump and don't want to ever see him back in the White House, we need to be paying attention, not just the federal level, but on the local, like the state and city levels as well.
Right.
We need to avoid a repeat of what happened with George Santos.
Correct.
Like we have a race coming up in New York in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Well, listen, we're going to get to that pretty soon, because I'm going to ask you about what's happening in your local locales and what concerns you most and all that good stuff. We're going to get to that. I don't know either why they don't arrest Stone, but remember, he's already had a presidential pardon. So I don't know how that works. Does anybody know how that works?
With his top hat, wearing the top hat and the top coats, Roger Stone. What a character.
Yeah, and always he's Nixon. Oh, right. God.
Don't get me started on Roger Stone.
Have you guys ever noticed that his head slopes backward?
Exactly.
Like in that profile? Well, there's something. This is the thing about Roger Stone that I don't think anybody's talked about. There's something physically not there. It's not holding the front of his head up. I don't know if prison's the right place for him.
He's an alien, okay? I'm telling you, he's an alien. But we'll get to Trump's peoples in a minute, okay? What's really concerning me, let me just say this, and I'll be quick and brief about it. I love what Gavin Newsom is doing. He's going around state to state talking to Republicans. Somebody's got to talk to them. not Nikki Haley, not other people. Someone like Gavin Newsom, a serious Democrat, intelligent Democrat, who knows all about the whole ins and outs of the whole political scene and the whole money and stuff like that. Someone needs to talk to these people, because how else will you be able to change them until you go hand to hand, foot to foot, and talk to them and show them how this is affecting your life too, not just Democrats, your life too, Republicans. This is going to affect you. The guy is talking about wiping out the whole Obamacare. He's talking about wiping it out. That's not going to affect just Democrats. And so Gavin is doing what I would do. I'd go around and talk to people and tell them this is going to hit you too. They're talking about not funding money for Ukraine. They're talking about reducing money. They're even talking about shutting the government down. You got that little crazy girl called Margie Taylor Greene.
Oh,
she's talking about
this
that
isn't
stuff.
new. None of this is new. Not to cut you off, Loretta, but I remember Ted Cruz when Obamacare passed and everything, and this was during his Senate re-election campaign back in 2018. So one of his constituents approached him at an event, and he told the story about his brother being a beneficiary of Obamacare. And so he asked Senator Cruz directly, you talk about how you don't like it and you want to get rid of it. What are you replacing it with? And Cruz gave this long-winded speech, but he never answered that man's question. And the thing is, I know why he didn't answer that man's question, because he has no intention of replacing Obamacare. Basically, Cruz and those guys, you get sick, you're on your own. To hell with you. And the fact that he didn't even have the decency or the courage to say that to that man's face, that is what is going on. So what you're talking about has already played out, and it's just going to be another repeat of that if, God forbid, Trump wins in November, which I hope he does not.
What has the Republican Party done in 2023? That needs to be brought out. Nothing.
Gary? I can tell you what they did in 2023. They complained nonstop for immigration reform, for reform at the border. And now that bill is in Congress, and Donald Trump has told the Republicans who are voting, vote against it. Vote against it, because I want to point to Joe Biden and say he is responsible for the immigration problem at the border. So what the Republicans have basically been doing, they have abandoned all principles, they have abandoned all platform, and they walk at the knee of Donald Trump. He can jerk them one way and then jerk them right back the other way, and they'll happily go along with it. And that's where the Republican Party is. And I'd just like to say this about Gavin Newsom. You know, there has been so much complaining to the Democrats and by the Democrats. Where are the surrogates? Where are the surrogates? Where are all these people talking? And this is Gavin Newsom. He is killing it. We could not ask for a better surrogate for the Biden administration. And we need him. And I just want to say why we need him and why we need more than Gavin Newsom. And I'm gonna sum it up in one sentence, okay? Joe Biden is not Barack Obama. He doesn't have the flair. He doesn't have the charisma. Some days he doesn't even have the sturdy gait. He does need surrogates. He doesn't have a Michelle. I love Jill, but it's not the same thing. Even the children, Sasha and Maria, we can't use Hunter. You know what I mean? So Joe Biden doesn't come to the table with the same cards.
Thank you.
And that is why it is not just upon Gavin Newsom to be a surrogate. Mm-hmm. We need to be surrogates for Joe Biden. It is what Barack Obama would want of us. We need to be speaking up. And it's sometimes very, very scary to say, I support Biden, because the popularity, the numbers are so low for him. But even though his numbers are so low, if you saw in that New Hampshire primary, he was written in as the candidate the Democrats want, and he still swept it. So the popularity numbers, the poll numbers are one thing, but if we can drive home what Biden has done and what the alternative is going to leave for people, we've got 2024, but we've got to do it in a way that we didn't have to with Clinton, in a way that Bill Clinton, in a way that we didn't have to with Barack Obama. They had charm. Bill could play the sax. They could woo people. And Trump does have that ability to a certain segment of the population. So it's very
basically Trump gives those people permission to take off the mask. That's his quote unquote charm. He gives them permission to take off the mask, and while some of them have experienced some form of consequence, it's not so severe as to I always say, like, the people, the Trump supporters, I until 2016, I just shrugged them off as they're on the fringe. They're a vocal minority. But I came to realize that quote unquote minority is larger than I thought. And when you think back to the 2020 election, the fact that the outcome was as close as it was, that should have put everyone on notice. That, here it is. The House is controlled by the Republicans. We have the slimmest of majorities in the Senate. So I always knew from day one that Biden was going to be limited in what he could do. He's not a miracle worker, like you said, Gary. I never expected him to wave a magic wand and fix everything. Right. I think he's making the most of what he can do with the hand he's been dealt. But one of the problems I see is the pipeline. Okay. So assuming that Biden is reelected and assuming that he lives to see the end of his second term, then what? That has to be addressed. And that's not a knock on Harris. That's not a knock on Harris. I've said many times, I don't want to see her fail. But realistically, as we stand in January 2024, if Harris was to make it to the White House, could she stay there? Could she complete the term? Could she win on her own? And I think we need to be honest with ourselves about that.
Most definitely.
Well, are you saying that you're not saying Biden should replace Harris on the ticket with another?
No, I don't think he should replace her on the ticket. I understand why he put her on the ticket. Looking at her resume, it made sense. But my problem is okay, assuming that he's reelected, assuming that he completes his second term, okay, who do we have in the pipeline besides Harris? I mean, because Newsom said he's not running, which I don't necessarily believe, but that's a whole nother conversation. But okay, who do we have in the running?
Here's my thing, guys.
I mean, presumably Bernie Sanders is going to be too old. Elizabeth Warren's too old. Who do we have in the pipeline?
We've got Whitmer, we've got Josh Shapiro, we've got Pritzker, we've got the governor in Colorado. I think his name is Polis. We've got
Jared Polis. But how many of those people have said any interest in being in the White House? Because that's another thing.
I don't know if they can do that right now. Everyone seems to be backing off to clearing the way for Joe Biden and let there be no mistake. Like nobody even wants to go there because there's just so much concern about division within the party if somebody else gets in.
Well, yeah, like Dean Phillips. And here's the thing about Dean Phillips. Like nobody's taking him seriously because he doesn't have much of a platform either. Like, okay, what is his vision for leading America forward?
Yeah,
I don't think he has an answer for that.
Don't bring up Dean Phillips because then you have to bring up his financial backer, which is
he's basically taking the money and running.
Let's not even bring up Dean
Phillips.
Phillips.
What did you say?
Bring him up.
Well, who's his financial backer?
Oh, Elon Musk. That's a hidden secret.
Oh no.
That's a hidden secret. That's a hidden secret.
No.
Yeah, Dean Phillips is worth more than $100 million, something like that. I remember reading that. Basically,
cancel out his name right now. Let's not discuss that anymore. Okay, let's not discuss it.
Listen, let me ask you guys this serious question. Do you think? And I hate almost that this is being broadcasted, this question, because I try to not be controversial towards my own party within these parts, but it's okay.
Sometimes you have to be.
Do you think it was selfish for Biden to run again and not try to pass the mantle over onto Gavin? Because I really thought that he was going to do that. One time Gavin went to the White House and I really thought he would think clearly and soberly about what's going on. Listen, I'm not an ageist by any means. I think that Biden is sharp and everything. However, that job he has is stress on wheels, and it ages everybody.
It's stress on steroids, and you're right.
Yeah, and you can see it all over him. And I just wish that he had passed the baton on. I really do.
But that goes back to my issue about the pipeline, because if you remember when his son Bo died in 2015, he had originally planned, like after Obama finished his 2 terms, he was going to originally run in 2016. But when his son died, he backed off. He's like, I can't do it. I'm not in the headspace to launch a campaign. And that's when Hillary, put the pedal to the metal and ran for it because she knew that was her last shot. And I think right now, okay, I've mentioned a couple of names, Harris, Buttigieg, Newsom, if he decides that he wants to go to the White House, and Gary's mentioned a couple of other names, but I think the thing is, I think back to why Harris's campaign faltered the first time around in 2019. Like, at some point, we've all been on job interviews, and we get to that stage where the person asks us, why do you want this job?
Yeah.
And she was never really able to answer that question. And I think my concern is right now with Whitmer, Shapiro, all the other names that I've thrown out there along with Gary, what is their answer to that question? All I hear for the most part is, okay, well, Trump is worse. Okay, I get that. I've been very familiar with Trump's game for a long time. I knew him for what he was all along. But I think the Democratic Party, they should be touting, they should be tooting their own horn about the things they've managed to get done in the past 3 years, whether it's fixing the infrastructure, improving the economy. They need to be tooting their own horn about the things they have done instead of focusing on Trump all the time. Because I think that's why a lot of these voters are ambivalent. It's like, okay, well, again, I'm not voting for Trump, no way, no how, but as I said to you last month, Pam, even though I'm going to vote for Biden, assuming that that November's a replay of 2020, at the same time, that's not the flex the Democratic Party thinks it is. They really need to get their pipeline in order. Yeah. And I don't see where they've done that.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that just quickly?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
No, I'm saying yes to you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. First of all, I believe that Joe Biden was always going to run for the second term. If he got in, this is a guy who has been wanting to be president. And if you ask him, why do you want to be president? He's got the answer, right? Mm-hmm. He has been there for decades. And yes, he is of an age, and that is fine. But what we get with the second Biden administration is a president who is no longer held back by ever having to be reelected again. He is not going to have to compromise the way a Newsom would in his first term going in 2024. Biden gets to close out the deal on his terms, and we will see what the Biden agenda truly, truly is in that second term. And I think he's got the goods, and I think he's maneuvered us quite well in the last 3.5 years. True, I do not want to see him on Dancing with the Stars. I do not want to see him hosting some version of The Apprentice, but I want the guy in there because number one, he's doing the work. Number two, he's surrounding himself by smart people. And number three, he has reached across the aisle for bipartisan legislation on more than one occasion in these 3.5 years. Forget like the infrastructure thing doesn't stick. The recovery plan. How about the fact that he and Republicans can make deals that benefit this country as a whole? Where are people singing his praises for that? I miss that. And that's what I want to hear this year. Republicans, we welcome you. Sensible Republicans and independents, we're doing stuff for you too. And it's at the lead of Joe Biden.
Yes, but now towards the end of this one term right now, he has not been able to really get anybody to sign and co-sign with him anymore. He even had your boy, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has already came out and said some things and says, well, this and that, whatever. And Mitch McConnell is now singing half 50-50 Biden, 50-50 whatever Trump wants. So now Biden's ability, and I don't want to pick on Joe Biden because I can rip him apart because I don't know if you all remember when he was sitting there at the UN asleep, okay? That was not pretty for... Yeah, he was asleep in the first term. In the first 2 years, he was sitting there asleep. The news had fun with that. I had to live with it. I voted for him, so I had to live with that. But the point is, back to Biden. I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, there are some fallacies about the gentleman, or as we all call him, Uncle Joe. There's some fallacies, but I don't want to dwell on that. It looks like he's going to be the one that we're going to choose to have as the person for the Democratic Party. Yes, I would love for several other people. I would love for certain people like from Democrats. Thank you for mentioning Gretchen. Yes, Gretchen would be excellent. Yeah. So would Katie from California. I forgot what Katie's name is.
Yeah. What's Katie's name?
Katie Porter.
Porter. Right.
She would be a
but she's running for the Senate seat.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
So, but Katie Porter
She'll get
is
there.
really smart, very good girl. Quiet as kept. I'd like certain people who aren't even in office right now to run, because you got people like Donald Trump and even Ronald Reagan, who was never in politics, and yet somehow the Republican Party still gets to put these people in office. One thing I give the Democratic Party credit for: we never put an idiot in there. We always find somebody intelligent, but the Republicans always find. Do you guys remember that one show? I think it was Cheers. Somebody said that someone said that Ronald Reagan was the president, and the guy says the actor. That is the Republican Party. They never have somebody who can really go up against our people. It's always been an insult to the Democratic Party whenever you have somebody like a Donald Trump or like a Ronald Reagan actually running for office and actually running against somebody intelligent like that. That's just a complete insult. But
two words: Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker.
Oh my God!
Thank you.
Hey, what happened to
Thank you very much.
Remember when we asked when he didn't win? And look, he almost won. But when he didn't win, we wondered what was going to happen to him.
You haven't heard from him.
Where is he? Where is he now?
He's hanging out with Waldo. Nobody knows. Like he probably went back to Texas. But speaking of Georgia,
he's probably still campaigning.
No, but speaking of Georgia, there's something else I want to say. Like when Stacey Abrams was running for governor in 2018, she lost, but it was a close race. 2022, not so much. I personally suspect she's going to run again come 2026. I think she's simply biding her time. But I bring her up because she did the legwork. She was in the trenches. She did the grunt work, and yet she didn't get the payoff. And that broke my heart because as much as I liked her, at the end of the day, I'm not a resident of Georgia. I could not get out there and vote for her. So it's like, I enjoy these conversations and I'm happy to share my knowledge, but I also feel like at the end of the day, these constituents need to get off their butts and vote. We can't do that for them.
But what we can do, and this is what You Can't Beat Blue does, we connect Democrats from one part of the country to the other so that people in where I live, I'm in a very blue area. I need to know where my dollars are supposed to go in this country in order to preserve Congress. So I can't vote for Stacey Abrams, but I can phone bank for Stacey Abrams. I can send the campaign money. I can text bank. I can do everything possible from my neck of the woods. And that really is at the core of what You Can't Beat Blue is all about. One, you support somebody near you, and two, you support somebody who's not in your own backyard. You find out where the Democrats need support in this country to hold on to Congress, and you make sure you send your power, your money, your talent, everything to that candidate. Beto O'Rourke didn't win, but I gave him 10% of my paycheck when he ran against Cruz. Every single week, 10% went to Beto.
Beto, that was my dude. That was my dude.
And I thank you for sharing that example, Gary, because I think, yes, I think we're going to see that play out this year, like in Arizona.
I hope so.
Arizona's a toss-up state. I've read that it's purple now. And, the Senate seat is is up for grabs. So, I mean, we'll see how that plays out. But I think what you just said is very true. So I thank you for sharing.
We have so much power that we're taught to not think about, that we're taught to not consider as voters in this country. We get very tied up in our local Senate race or our city council race, and we think, well, that's all the energy I can apply to it. But we've at this stage of the game where it's this critical, we really got to try to understand things at a national level and really help out wherever we can. And it's different for everybody. I know not everybody's got the money to send to candidates all over the country, but time is valuable too.
Somebody put in the chat, I don't know who Joski is, but he says Joe Biden is to blame for the border, and that's a fact. No, it is not a fact. I don't know what this border situation, that's a whole nother separate show, because I do not understand. I have not studied our immigration situation. I really haven't. So
I have to defend that person, Pam.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
A couple of weeks ago, they was on television that Joe Biden was arguing with the governor of Texas about those barbed wires.
Yes.
That was an argument there. There was also another argument a couple of weeks ago about the frozen water, and someone actually died trying to cross the frozen water and things like that. So Joe Biden was saying, take down the barbed wire because it's inhumane. You're trying to hurt these people who are trying to illegally come into our country. So I'm defending that person because they're correct on that part, because Joe Biden really wanted to fight. And that's still an issue right now in court right now. And that's an issue. And so I can get started on the illegal immigrants, but it won't be nice, you all, because I do have a more of a conservative streak about me. It won't be nice about that because
hey, as long as you're being honest, I mean, like,
yeah, I agree, because it is a thorny issue. There's no clear resolution
We're
to
gonna
it.
be down a rabbit hole, and Jokesky. I don't know what Jokesky is, but Jokesky, I hope you have liked and subscribed.
I see what Jokesky's written
on YouTube and stuff. Yes, and Stacey Abrams did do that work, and she did it. She did everything. She couldn't do anything specific for, there's so much stuff he called for. It y'all are so big. It's so much the.
And by the way, Gary, let me say this about Mary.
Yes, ma'am.
Pam had Mary on her show a couple
Yes.
of weeks ago or a month ago. Mary is a wonderful sister. She's my blue-eyed sister. She's out there doing things in her community, which is what we all need to do. But Mary's doing it from the standpoint that she has to take responsibility, as she said on Pam's show, that she has to go out there and talk to her neighbors, talk to her relatives, talk to people and say, well, so why are you voting for Trump? Because that question needs to be asked to anybody who is Caucasian, but also it needs to be asked of Black men as well, because Trump is playing to them about the whole border thing. He's playing to their psyche about everything. He's played this game before. And I'm not judging Black men. I know what's going on, why it hurts and everything. But the whole thing is, yeah, you're welcome, honey. But the thing is, Mary's doing what everyone else needs to do. We all need to go out there and do our part. I'll tell you what I do at my church. I am part on the political action team at my church, and I'm speaking up about what needs to be said, because people are not wanting to have these conversations. Well, when are we going to have them? This is January, people. We don't have time not to have these uncomfortable conversations.
That's
uncomfortable. Right. This is the year where you take off the uncomfortableness and we talk about this and we try to get things accomplished and get things done. I don't have time for you to say, well, I'm comfortable. No, we don't have time for that.
That's right.
Here's another thing, Loretta. But here's another thing. I often talk about like the 3-point mantra: awareness, action, and enlightenment. And there's nothing wrong with conversations. I'm all for that. But at some point, as my mom used to say, you either piss or get off the pot. And we need to take, so it's like when we get, it's the action stage that I think we get stuck at. Like, we all know racism is a scourge on our country's history. That's a no-brainer. The fact that we're still arguing about, the cause of the Civil War, and I was like, when Nikki Haley gave that did that interview earlier this month, and I'm thinking, we're still having this conversation 100+ years later about what caused the Civil War. It's like, if you don't know that by now, then I feel like I can't help you. But like, we need to come to terms with the things we have done. We need to come to terms. We need to own that our foreign policy has not always served the best interests of humanity. Like what's going on in the Middle East, I personally have said that there should be a ceasefire.
Thank you.
Because who benefits from keeping that war going? I'll give you a hint. It's not the civilians. No. So I have personally called for a ceasefire, but at the same time, like when you hear the phrase "from the river to the sea," is that a call for genocide? I don't know. I really don't. And I feel like since I'm neither Jewish nor Palestinian, there's a part of me that's like, you know what, maybe I should sit that one out. But what draws me back in is I don't want my tax dollars subsidizing mass killings.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have every right to speak on this subject. We all have every right to speak on this subject. And I think that specifically, because that's really, I would say, the hot button issue right now, what we really need to do, and this is the hardest part of all, we have to listen to the other person. We've got to listen to where they're coming from. And if it's from a place of non-reality, we gotta start from there. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we need the votes. We need every single vote we can accumulate for this election.
Correct.
And sometimes it's just about having listened and saying, all right, I get that you feel that way, and I'm not going to negate it. But now let me tell you how I feel, and then we'll go our separate ways. I'll have in my head what you're thinking and vice versa. Just kick it around and see if that sway. Maybe it won't sway them at all until the moment they get into that voting booth. And then they think back, oh, I remember what Pam said. I remember what Loretta said. I remember what Latrice said. I'm gonna vote for them. I'm gonna.
I mean, I know in the Muslim community, I've read numerous articles where they talk about what's going on in the Middle East is a deal breaker for them, and it's unfortunate that it's come to that. But I have read those things, and I am aware of that. Of that line of thinking. It's kind of like, well, I can't. I'm not going to wag my finger and scold them, and they're losing loved ones over what.
But we need to remember that the Middle East has been a quagmire for decades.
Yes, it has.
It soothes, it erupts. This didn't just all start under Joe Biden, right? And no president prior to Biden has been able to put it to bed. So, how much are we going to really blame him for this? I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm not blaming Biden at all.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, people who are only aware of this incident really need to pick up a history book, because the history books are going to give them a perspective. Go to a bookstore. Just pick up a book on the subject and just read it. I worry when we talk about people of color supporting Donald Trump. I mean, how can you be a person of color and be in this country, Asian American, African American, Indian, and know that people who look like you were compromised, were exploited by white colonialists or, versions thereof since, simply because of skin color. Look, Trump has said that black people come from shithole countries. Mexicans are rapists. Is he going to do anything for them when he's in office? No. Absolutely not. He's going to take their votes.
He's already shown that from the 4 years he was in the White House. He's already shown, he's already shown his hand.
Yeah. But the people who don't know history are repeating it. That's what we're seeing. You know what I mean? Like, they're not.
That is a fact. That
exactly.
Listen, we're going to shift this conversation. Y'all, I knew it was going to be lively.
I wish we were all at a table together. This is great.
Okay, so shifting to our backyards. I want each of you to think about what political issue concerns you the most in your city, state, and local election scene. Or are you confident that voters in your area are going to show up and show out? Loretta, you first.
Thank you. So what I was going to finish before Latrice brought out their comment about getting off the pot. So at my church, Latrice, not only do we discuss that issue, but we also tell people who needs help to get to the polls, because we can't take any chances right now. We can't do anything as we're going to talk to people. Talking is the first part of it. But afterwards, who needs the help? Because I don't have time for you to give me an excuse why you didn't make it there. So I already put that out there at church, because we don't have time. But I also put it out there in my community as well, because I don't need excuses out here why you didn't make it. Every single vote counts. Every single vote counts. Yes. I mean, Biden won 2020 by a very small margin. So every single vote counts. So in my area, and I'm living here in North Carolina. So in my area, what concerns me most about my area and what's going on, and I really don't want to go into my neighborhood, but I can. But I'd rather go outside of my neighborhood and go a little bit further, spanning out there into the Charlotte area and everything. What concerns me about my areas is the things that's going on. We had that young lady who used to be a Democrat flip and became a Republican, okay?
Oh, no, we talked about it.
Right.
We talked about it, and I had
thought about her.
Right. How she messed up the thing in North Carolina. She did
in
that.
North Carolina. Exactly.
One person
did that.
Yeah, she did
That's
that.
how dangerous things can flip. So that's the whole point. As I said, and as Gary said, the conversation needs to be out there discussing, so we can stop and make sure and check out people like that, because you'll be amazed of the black people and white people who claim to be this party and claim to do whatever they're doing. Okay, I'll go on again, but let me stop. Let me let other people talk, because I can go on.
Okay, and Gary, you're up next. What's your thoughts?
I'm in Portland, Oregon, and if you will recall, that's where Trump sent his little goon squad to try to show what a big man he was. He won't go to
Ted Wheeler, I remember that.
Yeah, he won't go to like a large city where they, stomp him, but they sends him to Portland, a mid-sized city. And I'm from Southern California, and in Southern California, I'm considered something of a lefty. The same thinking up here. I'm a centrist. We got far left going on up here in Portland. So sometimes it's very difficult to have, we got a lot of Bernie bros and Elizabeth Warren and AOC fans. And sometimes it's a difficult conversation to have. Just the two things that I want to say, the big issue that we have here is homelessness. And at the root of that is drugs and mental illness, which are not being addressed properly. I understand they're complicated issues. Also, housing being built, we've got issues with that. But I do want to mention, in speaking of, if you're looking for a candidate in order to give us a majority in the House, the Oregon 5th District, there is a woman named Jamie McLeod Skinner, and I want everybody to look her up. She can flip that seat from red to blue in 2024 and give us more of a House majority, a little cushion that we'd like to have so we can have a little defector votes if we need it. She definitely needs money. She could use text banking and phone banking. I'll say it again, Jamie McLeod Skinner, Oregon 5th District. If you want to help Oregon or Portland at all, that's where you should do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I love. I'm so excited now that I'm getting people, thanks to Mary helping me, people from other places and stuff. It's great. Okay, Gary and Loretta, did you say your piece already? Yeah.
I did, but I got more to say, but I'm gonna yield the floor. I'm gonna yield the floor.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Latrice.
Well, the local race here in New York is for George Santos' seat. I don't know the district off the top of my head, but it's not too far from where I live and work. Tom Suozzi, I hope I said his name correctly. He was the predecessor. So he's running for that seat again. His opponent is a woman who has kind of gone MIA. Like, her husband's been caught up in some scandals, and she was supposed to debate Suozzi, and she didn't show up. So she's got 2 weeks left to state her case for the seat, but so far she hasn't done that. But I think what happened out there, the local newspaper, it's a hyper local paper, by the way, the North Shore Leader, they were on to George Santos first, but then mainstream media dropped the ball and he got into the House, and it took more than a year to get him out, but it got done. And so I think that's the key race we're looking at in New York right now, because there's a special election, and then you have the regular races in November.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, how do you think things are going to happen in the special race? I think
Suozzi's going to get his seat back. I think he's going to get his seat back because, again, I think what happened with Santos was a wake-up call for a lot of us, mm-hmm. and especially those constituents mm-hmm. who live in that area, because Santos didn't do anything for them.
No,
he didn't do anything.
But embarrassed a lot of people.
Well, he embarrassed them, yes. But other than that,
he said constituents. That was nice, Latrice, how you said constituents. You don't want to say the genealogy. You don't want to say.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. But also,
we know what you did.
Another race in New York that's not getting any attention. I'm not even sure there is a race. Kirsten Gillibrand is up for re-election, but I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming she's going to run unopposed.
Okay.
So let's talk.
I agree, Lynette. I agree. I agree with you, Lynette.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a positive bright light here.
Okay,
the gentleman, that Democrat that just won in Florida, he just flipped a seat in Florida thanks to the congressman down there that's helping him out to get the seats flipped. And so they're learning what is the formula down there in Florida. Walk around and talk to the people and literally talk to them. And that's how they were able to flip that red seat to the blue. So believe me, I hate to say it, but the conversation is needed. We need to get out there and talk to people, right? And challenge nicely about their whole theory, and show them that your information is flawed, and you possibly got it
Yeah.
from, certain other areas like, Fox News. You
I guess having conversations, but it needs to be more than that. Like, again, okay, DeSantis, thank God he's term limited, but okay, he's been governor since 2018. What has he done for the people of Florida?
Ban books. What else has he done? Caused a lot of turmoil, and Phi Alpha has decided that they're not doing any more conventions there.
Correct. They canceled out last year.
A lot more of us need to do the same thing. I'm not, I love Disney World and all of that. And then they're messing around with Disney. Well, I wonder what's happening with that lawsuit, because they fought back.
Oh yes. That hasn't finished yet. Ron DeSantis has got he's in trouble right now. That's why he didn't have any money. He thought that his financial backer, his benefactor, Elon Musk, was going to cover him. We all saw what happened when Ron DeSantis' first day, when he did the plunge and put it out there. All of the system bum fired. Remember that, everybody, how it just bum fired? And we're thinking, well, this is Elon Musk. Doesn't he own, what do you call it now, X? Doesn't he own Twitter? Doesn't he own all that? So it's interesting what happened. So I was not surprised when Ron DeSantis had to back out. He had no choice. I was watching the news how they said that 2 nights before the New Hampshire primary that Ron DeSantis people were busy playing with a jigsaw puzzle. Do you remember them saying that on the news? That was a hint right there of what was going on with the DeSantis camp and everything. But we won't discuss the Satan. That's a waste of our energy again. We want to talk about solutions here. We want the people watching right now to know that the solutions out there is what Gavin Newsom is doing. Walking, talking to people and saying, do you know this and that is going on? Do you know how this is going to affect you? Do you have any problem? Can you talk to other people? Because if we educate folks on what's happening, because people need to remember, if this buffoon gets in office again, because he's got the poor people, and the reason why he went, Gary, to those little areas, because that's who he has. He has the poor people. Remember, the what is that? That rich people from the Republican Party, the Lincoln Group bowed out in 2020.
The Lincoln Project.
The Lincoln Project. They bowed out and said, we'll take our money elsewhere. That was one of the reasons why Joe Biden won, because they took money away.
The Lincoln Project did some hellified campaigns.
Exactly.
And their communications is the chef's kiss. We need that. They help Biden, and because our communications within the Democratic Party, I don't know. I did a whole show on that, and that was one.
I remember that. Yes, I do.
Correct.
And it was just 3 sisters talking that are all in this industry, and it was so fascinating that I don't know that they hire many of us to do anything that they're trying to appeal to other people. It's insane. And they get all of these people who don't look like us trying to talk to us. And I'm like, really? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, So anyways, I don't know. It's something. Yeah, Florida I tell you, this chat has been hopping. I haven't been able to really read anybody's stuff a whole lot, but so y'all must type at 100 miles an hour or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the comments as well, and I definitely appreciate the insight, and I enjoyed hearing from Gary and Mary from out there in Portland on the other side of the country, because again, the issues that we're dealing with are universal. Like, we also have, as I'm sure you've seen in the news, we have the migrant crisis hitting us hard in New York, homelessness and what have you.
I mean, how are you all making it with that situation?
Well, thank God the temperatures are above freezing now, because last week was really bad. But I mean, I don't envy Mayor Adams. I'll say that much. I don't envy him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we do need the federal. We do need federal support to step in, because Adams himself, and I think Governor Hochul needs to do more as well. But like, this could be his undoing amongst a whole bunch of other things. But his handling, and it's not his fault either. It's
Thank you very much. That gets me back again to Texas. Again, This is the thing that the Republican Party can beat Joe Biden up upside the head about. That whole issue about the border thing. If Joe Biden, okay, so when Donald Trump was in office, he put all those people in different camps and everything like that. Now, I'm not a Trumpster at all. I can't stand the dude. But he put the people in the camps. Notice what happened. Decrease. You didn't see that many people trying to come into this country, y'all. You didn't see that happen.
They sure did. Because I was wondering, why is it? I mean, it's just like they're flooding in here. Like
now, as soon as Joe Biden got in office and said, I take back everything that Donald Trump said, they came in by the folds and they weren't afraid at all.
Right.
So that, and so, so I'm sorry. Joe Biden does not get an A in my book on that. In fact, he gets a F+ on that because that's ridiculous what he did. He started doing that and he was not trying to build the infrastructure like it was. Now, I want to say in Joe Biden's defense that he was busy trying to reduce people's scholarships and things like that, reduce people's, collegiate problems and their scholastic problems like that, and take away their money that they owe and stuff like that. I want to say that Joe Biden was busy trying to build up our country and take care of all the economic situations, which he has. These are the things that Joe Biden can stand strong on that he has accomplished, yes. But that border issue, Donald Trump has told the Republicans, we got him right there. And they
I want to add one more victory for Biden. The pandemic. Let's not forget the pandemic.
Correct.
That's
correct.
huge.
Correct. I mean, so my thing is that Joe Biden better stand on what's strong and point out to the country what he has accomplished, that everybody's in love about what he's done. Because right now the economy is riding very nicely. Everything. We all want to go back to where those eggs cost this and that, whatever. We don't want to go back to the chicken and stuff like that. But the point is he's doing that. But right now, the Republican Party was waiting for something to get Joe Biden about. And this is the issue, the border right there. Now, what the Democratic Party need to do, I need to go and have a sit down with Joe and Kamala and tell them, you need to point out what Donald didn't do when he was in office for talking about the Mexican was going to build a wall and pay for it. They need. I want Joe Biden to say, "Hey, wait a minute, you're right, Loretta. Yeah. Shut them down on that stupid argument. We don't have time for this. Take them down the path, Joe Biden, of what you have accomplished. And then when they bring up the wall, tell them, no, we're not doing that conversation because you didn't do anything either. And then point out to the Republican Party, what did you do last year? So we're not having this conversation. Joe Biden, if he can't do it, he needs to find somebody to write that script for him, to tell him, stand on your 2 feet, Joe Biden, and say, well, what did you all do? If and what do you all negotiate about? So therefore, I'm sorry, Gary, but once again, he didn't, he reaching across the aisles, he didn't reach enough then in my book. He did not reach enough. And if he wants to be president again in my book, reach more, because you got Mitch McConnell came out of surgery or wherever, he was quiet. I was like, who resurfaced Mitch McConnell? Where did he come from?
Mitch sleep somewhere.
Exactly.
He's frozen. He's frozen.
Yeah, so and now he's out talking big and bad. Put him back to sleep, y'all. Shut him up, Joe Biden, and get him out the way. So I just want, if we're gonna do this, to make sure that we're talking. I'm very happy, but we need more than just Gavin out there. We need more people out there as well.
And that's what this show is about. So you guys share this show, and because we use it as a mouthpiece, you are all ambassadors, and that's why, even though I love getting actual politicians on here, and I get excited if I get a senator or whatever like that, I think it's really important to have everyday people working in our country talking about these things, because we are the real voters that they're appealing to, and we have the power of influence within our circles to make the differences. Right?
We do.
Yeah, we do. This was interesting. Legal and illegal immigration at the rate we have now is unsustainable, and that is excellent and detrimental to our country. It is absolutely detrimental, health-wise and every-wise. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to get a medical appointment in New York at a clinic or something. With the rate of homelessness across the country, that needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We're busy trying to take care of these people.
I
don't want to be harsh, but we got a lot of homeless people in this country that need to be attended to.
Right.
But we're busy trying to take care of the dreamers and all of them. They've been here 20 years, and I know that they add to the economy, as everybody want to say. But wait a minute, what about our homeless people?
No,
So
but that's the issue with the citizenship process now. Like, from what I understand, it takes like 10, 20 plus years. It's dragged out. Because I had a coworker, he came to the country in 1999, and I didn't want to be mean-spirited, but I was like, hold up, if you've been in the country that long, how is it you're still a permanent resident? But, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I think we really need to fix the process, because the people who are trying to come in the correct way, it just drags out. Like, you shouldn't be a permanent resident that long. Because he has children. Like, his daughter is grown. He had a daughter. She was born right after the terrorist attacks. So his daughter's a U.S. citizen. Not only that, but she's an adult now. And I'm thinking, you're still a permanent resident? But I just kind of felt like, okay, is that my lane? But like, the process should not be that dragged out to that extent.
Okay, guys, listen, if you're still on, I see people still on, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. It's a free way to support me. I want to thank my guests, Latrice Davis, Gary, You Can't Beat Blue, and my sorority sister, Loretta Thomas. Thank you guys so much. We're going to sign off. We'll be back next week, but we won't be on Super Bowl Sunday, because I know. And I hope the Lions won. I hope the Lions won.
They were. I have it on. They were when I left. TV. I'm going right